Please just listen and don't make a sound. Sit back and relax, shut your mouth and sit down. I'm here to assist you, your show will be saved. I just need a little bit of help from the grave.
Die, we've all passed away. The undead rise to help you today. Just give us a chance, so what do you say?
I got everything you need, let me show you the way.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Embrace the Journey. My name is Brandon and welcome back to the podcast. As you know, every Thursday I bring to you another guest. Well, today is a pretty big one. I gotta say, I got the pinup and hair queen here on the podcast today. So let me introduce her. My guest today is an actress, model, dancer, singer, hair queen, as I've mentioned, and Halloween lover. She has worked at Universal Studios Hollywood for 10 years, performing for shows such as WaterWorld as Helen and Grinchmas as Martha May, along with performing as Marilyn Monroe, Fiona from Shrek, and as a go-go dancer for Universal's Halloween Horror Nights. She also has a YouTube channel where she does vintage hair tutorials. Welcome my guest, Pinup Palmer.
Guys, my God, you did research on me. I was like, yes. Most people are like, she's done Marilyn Monroe, because that's what most people can gravitate towards. When I say Fiona, they're like, oh, the ogre version? I went, sure. Let's just go with that.
The ogre version.
Yeah, paint myself green every day.
First and foremost, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And driving all this way. I love the outfit, by the way.
Thank you.
I love the little pins you got going on there.
All my little horror pins and stuff. I had to get Killer Clowns.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Love it. Totally love it. So let's kind of jump right into it because we have a lot to cover. So first and foremost, your most recent thing has been the beauty of Burlesque. One question real quick is how long did it take to film? And then also kind of go into the details of everything you were just about to tell me before I said, wait.
Oh, man. Well, this was a new adventure because nobody's ever done anything like this. So that was the first kind of moment. I was like, oh God, I don't know how this is going to work. And Tosh called me and she's like, I want to do a 3-part movie. And I went, 3 parts? Easy, you know? And we managed to condense it to just 2. And I was like, well, make it a double feature because I'm a huge fan of like Rocky Horror. And since it's vintage, it's like double features in the drive-ins. That's totally what they did back then. So I was like, well, that fits. So it took about 4 months of planning. And like I said, nobody's done anything like this before.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And we did a Beauty of Burlesque the year before, but that was at the Globe Theater. And that was at a live show. So, and we tested all our characters there, you know, because it's Tosh's show. Beauty of Burlesque, she created it. That's her thing. She's just asking different hosts to come in that fit kind of whatever the aesthetics going on. So she calls up me for the Halloween stuff because of my character Victoria. And so I just bring all my characters from that world into the Beauty of Burlesque. And we were like, are people going to like a puppet?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if we put a puppet in the box seat, would they find that funny or are they just here for boobies? Like we're not sure. And that was the big test the year before. And as soon as he came out, and Glenn, the monster in the closet is what we call him. He's the gay pink monster in the closet.
Yeah.
Because I'm obsessed with Muppets, and that's why I have him.
So good, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It was so
I love
good.
him.
Yeah.
And Justin, my co-writer, and we were behind the curtain, and there was that moment where he comes out, everybody screams, and then he makes that first joke. And our puppeteer is Ben, who also is a Grinch at Grinchmas.
Oh, nice.
I just basically bring everybody from Universal into my world.
Yeah.
And we hear that first laugh and just the relief of it, of like, oh my God, are we funny? Because we never tested it on a live audience. And then so we had that last year, brought it back to this year, and this was a whole new ball game because of the pandemic that's been going on. You know, how do you create a movie during this when people don't even want to leave their own house? So it was already hard enough to get people to come to the theater to film. And we had to have a COVID rep, which is a whole other ball game that I've never had to deal with or pay. and just check if people are sick and social distancing. And it's like, well, the worst time is because we're filming in a theater and people are sitting next to each other, but we had to like stagger our monsters 6 feet, and people were, luckily this place was big enough for that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was quite a nightmare in the nicest way to put it.
Okay.
Big nightmare. Big nightmare. Fitting for Halloween, though, I must say.
Yeah. I will say it was really like visually, it was like appealing with like the opening scene, the promo, and like all of that stuff. And by the way, so I've kind of seen you around Universal as Marilyn and like different characters that you do play. But when I saw it, I was like, I didn't know she had this voice.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I was like, my goodness. And I think even in some of the comments I like on the video that you posted was like, we need more of the voice, which is like,
Aw.
you do totally.
Well,
like
thank you.
You can.
It's a one of those things where you used to sing all the time, you know, when you were younger, and the Covina Playhouse where we performed at, that's where I actually got my start. I used to perform there as a kid growing up, and we did so many musicals there. But once I started working at Universal, there's really no singing roles there. And when there were, I don't know why I shied away from it. And I was like, I'll just be a walk-around actor. It's fine. You know, I don't need to be singing Martha May. I'm the lip syncer. I'm more of a drag queen, if anything.
Got it.
Because I don't have enough confidence in singing yet. You know, it's not there yet. I still have a lot to learn, a lot to do. I don't consider myself a singer. I was like, I can hold a note.
Well, you're definitely like on the right path. Like you have the voice, everything like that. So another question in regards to the Burlesque is we were supposed to film this sooner, but this all got kind of caught up because you said you ended up having to edit. So you had to, let me ask this. So you had to edit like that whole thing?
Pretty much. Oh God, I don't even know how to say it.
I just like in the text that you sent, like that you were just like, hey, I'm just slammed with this editing thing, like barely getting sleep. I'm like, no worries, take your time.
So bad.
We'll shoot for next month because I understand how it feels like when you have to edit a lot, especially that like that's a lot to edit. So
yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't get some of the acts until 2 days before the show. And I was editing all by myself. And once again, just like singing, I'm not an editor. You know, everything that I was doing was I was learning for the first time and trying to piece this entire show together. And I did. I really did edit this entire show and every single part, other than other people's certain acts. But I also did other people's acts, just like the Aerialist and Sin Twisted and stuff like that. And I actually got some acts the day of, and I was doing a 2-day overnight. I didn't sleep for 2 days because there's no time. There's over 30 acts in the show, you know, because Tosh just wants something big and spectacular. Yeah. And here I am, like in the middle of the night, like, I'm fine trying to edit and give them like title cards and which one goes where and what seems. And then sooner or later, I started realizing like, this is almost a 4-hour freaking show. Yeah. Like people are going to fall asleep, you know, if they don't like see boobs, you know, like get to it. But I don't know. It was 2 days of not sleeping, and I didn't drop off the film, the final finished film, until 5 o'clock in the morning at Tosh's house the day of the show. And I was like, hope everything works, you know, because when you like render it, you don't know if something gets kind of behind or some things happen. Yeah. And it did. But what can you do at that point?
Honestly, it still turned out great for the amount of work that you put into it. And it was just you, huh? Editing the whole thing.
I edited the whole entire thing. Yeah,
my goodness.
I honestly could say I did.
I got to say, last thing, and we'll kind of move on from that. But my favorite line, I think, from that is, and it's the line that you say is, and you little shit. Because like she's being like this bad kind of acting up person, and I think that was like one of the best lines.
Thank you. It's I like to keep Victoria angry. You know, she's, you know, she doesn't like dealing with much shit, and that's why we asked Ava to be in this. I wrote Ava in the show because like Tosh is very nice, and that's the dynamic. You know, I don't want Tosh to come off like a little shit, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, we need another character to kind of balance this. Or else it's too nice. It's not funny. So Ava was the perfect fit for that.
It totally fit perfect. Yeah. So kind of moving on from there, let's talk about kind of where it all started. You mentioned a little bit that at West Covina Playhouse, that's where you would perform a lot. But yeah, how did you get into performing? Like what inspired you at a young age to say that this is my...
You know, we've all been part of this show. If you ever been to a Christian show or like a Christian school or a Catholic school.
Like a musical or...
at the end of the year, every Christmas, they're like, Jesus is Jesus, Jesus this. And everybody's like an angel. And like maybe there's a Mary and a Joseph.
Yeah.
I never was a Mary. I was so pissed. And there was like gypsy dancing girls down our aisle. I was always put as an angel. I was like, God, I fucking hate this. As a kid. But that was probably the start. Most religious growing up kids.
Yeah.
And now I just show boobies on television. Clearly it did something.
Yeah.
But it started from there, and I did a couple acting in school, and I would say one of the most interesting moments in my life was third grade. My teacher, Mrs. Ladd, never was really into theater at this point, but she saw something. I don't know, maybe it was because I was terrible at everything else. So she's like, there's gotta be something maybe right with this kid. And she had a piano in her room. And she noticed that I would always like sing along with the songs that she would like play in her room. Mm-hmm. So one day after recess, she pulled me aside and didn't let me go to recess. She goes, I want you to sing something for me. And just blap, she put on a little music thing. Said it was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And she just was playing it. And she goes, you know the song. You've seen Wizard of Oz. And so she started playing it for me. And that's when I bonded with that teacher because she's like, you're a theater kid. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's why you suck at math. Like, girl, you can't count, but hell, you can entertain, a little bit. So that's where it took off. My mom's like, oh, because my mom is all about sports. I grew up as a sports kid. I did volleyball. I did diving. My mom's my own coach. And it was very weird for her. She goes, oh, of course, my kid takes from dad's side of the family where they're like, we like drawing and artsy stuff instead of the sports related. So it was hard transition for her to going, I guess we should put her in theater class, or I guess we should get her a little agent and start putting her in backgrounds as a kid. And that's where I was. I was doing pretty much all of that, and then did it in high school. I was video production, drama club president, you name it.
Wow.
Once again, terrible though at grades. Like normal stuff of society to function in a normal world, horrible at, but damn, I would work on editing for hours for like our music videos for our school rallies or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in a sense, you kind of did have some experience when it came to editing because you were like that was your realm. For me, same thing. I sucked as a student in school. Like I was just like, there was even I think a dance where I couldn't go to because you had to have like a certain grade. A 2.0.
Yeah.
And I remember just staying home that one dance, and I'm like, I'm too stupid to dance.
Too stupid to dance. I'm the best dancer in there, if they would have known. Yeah, that's how I feel too. But there was like, they would go on like field trips and stuff like that, or like to Scandia, and you'd be there at lunch while all your friends are at Scandia because they're smarter than you. And I was like, but I have talent, Mom. Yeah, exactly. But you'll never get a chance.
Totally same thing. I was more of the class clown. I was the one that talking that got kicked out of class for like, but everyone was laughing. As long as everyone was laughing, they say that if you laugh more, you live longer. So I guess, I don't know.
Then use that.
Right? Exactly.
The longer.
So I did find a video early on your Instagram.
Oh, God.
You were 16 years old singing Into the Woods.
Oh, yes.
And like I said, I bring that up again because even then you had a great voice.
Thank you.
But explain that a bit. And was that at the West Covina Playhouse?
No, that was at the Chino Hills Playhouse.
Okay.
Yeah, Chino Hills. And that was one of the greatest moments in my life, I would say, because that cast, we bonded so much, like so much. We hung out 24/7. I painted half of the sets. Mm-hmm. It was just such a great time. I will remember all those people, and I'm still in contact with a lot of those people too. But if there was a role that was right for me and I felt so comfortable doing, it was definitely the baker's wife in that one. And I had to kiss two men in that. So that's, I was a little nervous, like, I don't know if he's going to like me, but one of them was gay, I was like, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe, well.
So growing up, so when you were that age and kind of just as you got older, what was your, in a sense, because kids and as we grow up, we always kind of change what we really want to be when we grow up. What was it for you? Was it you always wanted to be a performer? You wanted to be in the stars, or what was it? Yeah,
I think so. Okay. I could tell you this. I think I wanted to be an artist. So, because my dad is a graphic artist, so I kind of started drawing, and like I said, my grades were terrible, but my picture would be up on that board, showing off, and it would be the best ones. Like, I drew the best twister out of everybody. Like, and I would like always stare at it in class, like, that's mine. That's my work. But it was a piece of garbage, really at that time. But that's what I thought. I don't know when it really kicked in that I wanted to be in the entertainment business. I just think in a funny way, I kind of have no choice because I'm not good at anything else.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not. Like I'm not as smart, and I think I'm street smart.
Yes.
You know, and I meet a lot of book smart people, but man, they can't hold a conversation for anything. And it's very awkward. It's very awkward. It depends. Some people have certain skills that are just meant for them. But wow, what a tough world to pick, Sarah. You couldn't have been like a dentist or something, you know. No, struggling actor, great life. Good life.
Now, when you were growing up, did you face any struggles at all? And also struggles in regards to just life kind of growing up. And then also, were you always this glamorous?
Yeah. Struggles, like I lived a pretty normal life.
Okay.
Parents are still together, middle class, you know, we went on little small vacations.
Sure.
Everything was fine there. Grades, of course, got in the way, so that would cause turmoil. But when you say glamorous, no, because I was an acne-ridden kid.
Really?
Like, full face cover everywhere, acne on my shoulders, my back. I would wear long sleeve shirts during like 90-degree weather during school. I even wore a shawl for my homecoming dance. I have a picture of it somewhere. It's just like, it was just so embarrassing. And the glamour came later because I had to use makeup not to look better, but to try and look normal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So you're covering up your mistakes, even though people know. People know. And I was really bad at it. Like orange, face and like the line here and patches missing. And then it was really bad time. And I knew it was bad acne when my friend Hannah got a facial one day and she broke out after the facial. And then she's like covering her face all day. And she goes, "Oh my God, Sarah, is this like what you feel like every day?" And I'm like, yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, it is. But that was like my best friend at that time. And even she knew, like, it was kind of like an eye-opening moment of like, shit, my skin really is bad. And that's just genetics. That's growing up. Most greasy kids at that age. And I just got slowly better at makeup. And then all of a sudden the acne started fading because you grow up, you grow out of it. You start washing your pillowcases, like a normal human being. It wasn't always glamorous. It was pretty bad. Like I would get called like butterface and, cake face. I mean, you name it. Oh, and geisha is my favorite one, geisha, because my face would be so white compared to my rest of my body that the kids literally, I would walk into class after I was like, I have to go pee. But really I was redoing my foundation, go into the bathroom, come back in the class. The entire class was like,
oh my goodness.
And I was like, what? Oh, it's me. Great. I look like a ghost. Those were scarring moments. And I still have like residual energy from that decade where I'm still very nervous. But it took me a long time to be even seen in public without makeup. Like it took me a very long time. Now I go everywhere. My poor boyfriend. Hi. Like, fraud. I'm a fraud. It's fake. That's what he thought. That's what he's getting. Messy bun and like no makeup and sweats with Chipotle stains on my shirt. I'm like, this is what you wanted.
Yeah.
This is what you got.
Amazing.
Chipotle stains.
Can't go wrong with that. Yeah. Of course. So I think that's so interesting though, because I figure, especially now when a lot of people watch you, is like she's always been beautiful. Like that. That's why like I ask, and like, because we're all human. Like everyone goes through their stages.
No, I just adapted. Figured it out.
Now, kind of transitioning, when did we get introduced to Universal Studios? How'd you find out about Universal? How'd you kind of get in? And also, what was your first role there?
Okay. That's fun. Back to the Covina Playhouse where we did Beauty Burlesque.
Got it.
I was doing, right after Into the Woods, I did Oliver at Chino Hills, and then Covina Playhouse was doing Oliver, so I auditioned for Oliver over there. Got it. Did that show, and one of the girls in the cast with me was Lindsay Conway. And Lindsay came up to me, and she's like, hey, and I was like 18, 17 at this time. And she's like, there's this thing called Halloween Horror Nights, and I'm going to audition for it. You should come with me. And I'm like, okay. So I went with her, and really excited, really nervous, because I'd never done anything like that. And my first role ever at Universal Studios was Halloween Horror Nights as Baby Firefly from House of a Thousand Corpses. Okay. And I was really excited once we found out House of a Thousand Corpses was one of the mazes. And I even told my dad, I was like, I think I got Baby, because I was platinum blonde at the time. I was like, I have a feeling if I do get cast, this is what we put in. When we got our little pamphlets at the end, I was like, Baby Firefly. I was like, hell yeah! But it wasn't the assless chaps Baby Firefly. It was like the white dress. I was like, dang it. Dang it. I wanted the assless chaps for some reason, even though it's totally inappropriate, not for kids. But yeah, it was all because of Oliver at the Covina Playhouse, which brought me to Universal Studios. And then after that, I was like, I love this place so much. What's next? And like Scott Kleckner would be like, well, Grinchmas, I guess you can audition for that. I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. So I did and got that and just started continue working there. And now it's been about 10 years later.
10 years.
About 10 years.
Wow. Yeah. So then when you got Grinchmas, the in a sense, first year, was it right away Martha May?
Yes.
Really?
I was swing for the show. So at that time, back in like 2010 Grinchmas, they had the big arena with, they would fill up that entire arena with the huge tree, and they would actually have a full-blown show with like mics and everything. Mm-hmm. And I actually got swings, so I wasn't only Martha. I was Martha May, I was Gussie, which is the old lady who, and then Tizzy Fit, which is like this spunky kind of teenager who. Mm-hmm. And every night I would rotate into a different role. But yeah, it was Martha.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Just immediately, Martha.
Yeah, it was all downhill from there. I mean, that was my heyday.
Now, out of all the characters you've played, so you've done, like I said, Marilyn Monroe, Fiona, Martha May, like all of these characters, what would you say is your favorite to play?
Betty Lou.
Betty Lou.
Betty Lou.
Why is that?
Because since I do put on such a glamorous type makeup, you kind of get put in a box a little bit. You know, once the casting directors kind of see you in a certain way, well, you're Marilyn, but you're also Martha. They're almost very similar. Yeah. So it's kind of like playing these sexy kind of characters every year. It starts to kind of weigh on you a bit. You know, like how many times is a father going to come up to you going, hey, my wife's not looking, meh, 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 you know? And
as who? As Betty or as Marilyn?
As all the sexy characters.
Really?
And then it took 1 year where Scott Kleckner, God bless him, he surprised me with Betty, because we never had Betty personally in the park. Betty Lou, which is Cindy Lou's mom, if anybody wants to. Which is Molly Shannon, who I am a huge fan of, like Superstar. And we never had her in the park, and he just like sprung it on me, even though I was fully dressed as Martha May for my audition. He's like, Sarah, do Betty Lou. And he's like, and I'm like struggling because I have nothing in my like head. You know, I have everything in my pocket ready for Martha to sling out for like, you know, improv. But Betty, it's like changing it's almost like being a Lucy a little bit. And she's just so fun and so zany, and she's totally up more of my alley. She is my personality, but unfortunately the way I look and the way I make myself look is always more of the glamorous characters. So it was just nice to break out of that box. And I've been her ever since I auditioned for her. I kept going back. And then there was 1 year where they put me at both. So I was Betty Lou and then also Martha May. And I would find myself in videos arguing with myself. Like, darn you, Martha, darn you, Betty. You know?
So Betty Lou. Now, going into Marilyn, so Marilyn Monroe, first and foremost, for anyone that doesn't know or has ever seen her play Marilyn Monroe, she looks identical to Marilyn Monroe. Boom, pop up a picture right there. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Look, boom, pop up another picture. I'm telling you.
Damn, where is it?
Editing. So, but yeah, she just looks so much like it. Now, how long does the makeup and the hair take to do Marilyn?
It depends on how quick I am doing it.
You do it all yourself?
Oh, we do it all ourselves. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They make us the wigs that are designed for our own heads, and they give us our dresses that are measured to our body types. And and they supply us the makeup. But we could bring in our own makeup too, which most of us do, because we have different texture and skin and different kind of coloring, some of us. So, we do all our makeup ourselves, and it takes about an hour if, like, you want a good face day. You don't want a bad face day where you don't put on your fake eyelashes or anything. And you'll know it's a bad makeup day when a Marilyn has sunglasses on and it's raining outside. Like, no, it's totally on purpose. Like, she's not wearing eyelashes. No, that's probably why. But yeah, it takes about an hour.
About an hour?
Yeah.
Now, as Marilyn, I can imagine you ever deal with problem people?
All the time.
Yeah?
That's my job.
As Marilyn, what do you deal with?
Oh, God. I mean, everybody has their own quirk. And it's kind of funny because working there 10 years now, I can almost guess what a person is about to say to me when they come up in line, because you just get to know people and how they are and where they're from and kind of understand. And it's in a way kind of stereotypical, even though they're treating us stereotypical. They don't think, when they see a woman dressed as Marilyn, she's not human anymore at all. She's not a real person. So no man would walk up to a female in the middle of the street and be like, hey, I'm going to grab you around your waist and I'm going to whisper something really weird in your ear, you know? They would never do that.
Yeah.
It's just common courtesy. But as soon as they walk in that park and they see Marilyn, they immediately think of sex symbol, any kind of movie that she was in, which most of them don't know any of the movies that she was in, you know? The men often, European men, they'll go like this to you, boo boop doop, like boo boop doop. And it's a you, the boo boop doop, right? And I'm like, sure, yeah. Close enough. Yeah.
Really on point.
Yeah, it's all right. And it's a lot of sexual harassment that we have to constantly combat. Like in our training too, we even have like a specific kind of course that shows us how to handle types of aggressive men or just people. And, women could be aggressive too. It's very surprising because women feel very comfortable with Marilyn. So they'll give her a little squeeze on her tush or something like that. And sometimes you could tell when things are absolutely harmless, you know, like a Chinese, they love to pat. That's just their thing. So they'll pat your bum, but it has nothing to do with sexuality. They're just so happy. You know? So you have to understand, like, that's not sexual. Just let it go. You know what I'm saying? Or move yourself in a way where it doesn't happen. But then you know, when you get the ones that are waiting for you every time when you go out to set and they're just kind of watching you afar. Then when they come up to you, they say something weird or they actually know who you really are. That's another thing that we have to kind of combat sometimes too, is people really know who we are. Like they will find us online, they will message us, which is fine. You know what I'm saying? But there is like a line that some people cross and it becomes a little bit creepy. And it's a lot of sexual harassment or words or violent almost. Some women are very, very, very violent when it comes to Marilyn, of like, or jealous or catty, you know, like, well, I have bigger measurements than you. Something like that. Or they'll say something across the way like slut, you know, and they'll not take a picture with it. It's just the drive-by ones, I always call them, the drive-by people that just yell stuff. Like Miley Cyrus, she did that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And it's just petty kind of women. Or it's the people that are so excited that they actually think you are her because they've come from like a country that they're just now seeing these videos. Yeah. I've had people cry. Like, and I'm like, girl, I look like Meryl Streep today. Like, it's not the same, you know, and you have to kind of play that fantasy of people of what they think Marilyn is. Yeah. And that's a scary moment.
I would have never expected that. Anytime I go, like if she, because a lot of the time she's sitting where the tram is, like when you go down, right? Like she's in the chair.
Yes,
right?
There was a good moment there.
Yeah, so I just see, I'm like, okay, cool. Like she's taking pictures with people, but never would I ever thought that they got to go through all of that behind the scenes as well.
And some.
My goodness.
Everybody has their perception of Marilyn. So if you don't meet it, they'll let you know. They'll let you know you're too skinny, your nose is too long, too much makeup, you don't look like her. People
just shaming haters.
Oh yeah,
haters.
But they're still taking a picture. You're like, what are you doing here? Go and ride. You know, wait for the next one to come out. No.
What have been some of your favorite memories as some different characters you've played? Whether it was Fiona, whether it was during Grinchmas, or things that just happened that just like, man, that was a good time.
There are, oh my gosh, there are so many moments. It's hard to kind of pinpoint one specific.
Give me your maybe favorite two, favorite three.
We have certain regulars, is what we call them, that are they're at the park every day, every day, and you get to know some people like really well, you know. And because they're obsessed with the characters or whatnot. But I remember specifically one time during Grinchmas, you don't realize how impactful you are on people's lives until they kind of reach out to you later, you know, because of like you made their kid's day or, you know, whatever. There is this one family that comes, I forget where, like Utah or somewhere, but they have 3 kids, a boy, a girl, and then Noah. Noah is kind of like a little disabled, like in a wheelchair and stuff like that. And he can talk. He understands you. He's just a little bit like, I'm not sure exactly where to pinpoint him, but he's on the spectrum somewhere. But he's the sweetest kid, and he's excited by everything. His favorite thing, though, is I met him during Grinchmas, and the Who's we crowded around him, and we gave them our entire set. Like, we were with them the entire time, to the point where they would come back the next year, and he would remember us, like, specifically. And he would get upset if a different person was playing that character, because he'd know. Yeah. He would know, and he'd be like, you're not the same. You are not the same. You're like, I'll go back inside then, you know. But he is obsessed with Marilyn. And there was one day we were doing this show in the round, and I saw him, and he comes up. He's giving me all the hugs. You know, he's telling me how much he loves me, this and that. We're having such a good conversation. I'm talking to his family, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, finally, somebody recognizes me as Marilyn. You know, like I feel like I'm Marilyn today. And then they roll him away. And right at the last minute, I'm filled with like glee. And as they're rolling him away, I just hear him look back, and he waves at me. He goes, bye-bye, King Kong girl. And I'm like, damn it. Damn it. And just crushed, you know. And I will never forget it because it made me laugh so much. I was like, at least he's happy. Yeah. But King Kong girl, I was like, that's close. White dress, blonde hair. Why not? I forget her name. I was like, close enough, you know. Yeah. But the entire time you're thinking like, I'm Marilyn. Yeah. Bye, King Kong girl.
So actually moving on from that, WaterWorld. Let's talk about WaterWorld. So I saw an old picture on Instagram, and so you were Helen the whole show?
Oh, yes.
Really? Oh, yeah. What? Okay, to confirm that you were Helen, because anyone could take a picture. Hello. What's her big opening line what's the first big opening line she says to Sage? Close the gates. And what
Mac,
else?
I forget it. It's been years. Close the gates. Mac, keep a lookout. Hey, Seth, come and help me. Yeah. And those were the 3 lines that you're driving on that boat out of breath already, you know. Yeah. But I think they changed the character from Seth to Sage now.
Sage.
Yeah, Sage.
Yeah. My favorite part is when she throws it and he goes, it's pure dirt.
It's pure dirt. I've been to dry land.
So how was that? How was that whole experience? WaterWorld's like easily one of my favorite shows.
It was something I never thought I was going to do.
Okay.
Ever. I was like, this is beyond anything of my expectations. And it was actually, I got that show before Marilyn or anything existed. And during this time, oh God, I just did Grinchmas. And now Grinchmas is over, and they're not really hiring for anything right now. And then WSSI at the time, they were like, we're having auditions. And they had auditions for Terminator, Zorro and Elena's Sword Show, which was awesome, and WaterWorld. And I was like, I mean, I'm not a stunt woman, but I am a diver. You know, my mom is a diving coach. I've dove my entire life. I know water like the back of my hand. So let's try it. You know, let's try it. But at the same time, I auditioned for Disney. You know, I was like, well, since I'm in the theme park, let's go to Disney for the first time. So I auditioned for Disney, and I got kept all the way for Disney. And then I auditioned for literally WSSI the next day and got kept for everything, except for Zorro and Elena. I think it was just Terminator as Sarah and Kimberly and then Helen. Those were the 3 I was waiting on. One day I got a call from Disney, and they were like, hey, you're casted as Belle, but in Disney, this is something weird that they do. They make you do a fuzzy at the same time, even though you don't audition for it. So my role at Disney would have been Belle Pluto. That would have been my track. And they called me first, and that was to move to Florida, and I was like 18, 19 at this time, so that was very scary for me. But I agreed. I was like, yeah, I love Belle. You know, I would love to wear that peasant dress or the gold dress, and that was really exciting for me. And then literally 2 days later, WaterWorld called, and they were like, you got Helen. And I was like, oh, shit, okay. And so I had to make a big decision in my life. I think that would have took me in a different, where I am now.
Yeah,
like, really
totally.
And so I had to call Disney back, and I would go, I can't do it. And I would take WaterWorld, even though I know I wouldn't be working 6 days, a week. I wouldn't be guaranteed that because there is a roster system there. But I knew Maryland auditions were coming up. So I was like, well, maybe maybe if I get WaterWorld, or when I do WaterWorld, I can audition for Maryland, then I can have a steady job.
Mm-hmm.
And during this time, I was also working as a Hooters girl. So there was a lot going on, of like, I would like to get out of here. But nice tips, though.
Yeah.
Nice tips.
For sure.
Yeah, and WaterWorld was one of the coolest things I ever had. But I think what got me it was honestly the diving. That's what did it, because I know how to jump from high places and land properly.
Yeah.
And hold my breath, and how to swim. Like I've done it my entire life. Like my mom pushed that down my throat. It was a scariest and most fun. Like my rehearsals, the first day, I didn't think I could do it. Like there was a couple moments where I was like, oh, I think I'm in over my head. Like it's one thing to jump in the water from high places, that I could do, but when the other stuff kind of came, like the rope slide and those higher places of the zip lines, like stuff I've never done, I was like, I don't know if I could. I had to really go past my fears in that show.
Yeah.
And then once you do it over and over and over, it comes like second nature. But that's when it becomes scary, is when you get too comfortable, because that's when accidents start to happen. Because you're like doing things that you're like, no, I'm fine, and then you slip.
Yeah.
Which I have done before in shows. It's very embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Very embarrassing.
I still think anytime I watch that show, I'm like, my goodness. The guys, I think there's two of them who go off the top part of the
fire divers. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, my goodness. Have you ever done that?
Oh, well, I've jumped off. A part of the initiation is to jump off the tallest tower.
No way.
Yeah, which that was a surprise to me, too, because that's taller than a 10-meter platform in diving. So that's taller than anything that I've ever experienced. And I was like, oh, good. I can't wait for rehearsals tomorrow, to almost die. And, they make us all, they made everybody do it. But what those guys have to do, as soon as they get caught on fire, they're holding their breath that entire time.
To not breathe in fumes?
Correct. Like, they will die. So as soon as they get light up on fire, they hold their breath, and then they fall from that 45 feet drop into the water, still hold their breath, swim underneath the water, and then finally pop up on the other side, all wearing that mask and being lit on fire. Sounds like a blast.
Yeah. Sounds like a time.
Yeah.
Now, when you would jump off of it, is it just like a simple kind of, okay, like just jump and a straight kind of hands together straight down?
That's what we did.
They're not making you backflip off of it.
Oh God, no, that's so dangerous. Because at that height, you could pop a lung, you could break a bone, because water at that height acts like cement.
Yeah.
It can, especially if they don't have like the bubblers on to kind of break the water, or if you don't land right, you could tweak something so bad.
Yeah.
That's why it's very dangerous. Like they need people who kind of know what they're doing a little bit, even though I kind of didn't. I think I was one of the youngest ones to get hired, especially for a female at that time.
Yeah, what an experience though, to be able to do that. So from doing that, you also kind of got into being a go-go for Horror Nights, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that was kind of the same process, and since you were already doing all these other things, you were like, okay, well, kind of might as well go into that as well, right?
Sure. Yeah, I did Halloween Horror Nights for about 7 years, I think. And the first 2 years, like I said, I got Baby Firefly. Then the next year, I got Alice Cooper, and I was Nurse Rosetta in that. So I realized I was getting kind of female face character roles. I was never put in a mask. Scott wouldn't do that, even though I begged him to put me as a bushman. I was like, put me as bushman, but I just want to be a bushman in my tram, and he wouldn't do it. But then, I found out how much the Go-Go's made in comparison, and then their hours in comparison to everybody else, and I was like, okay. I mean, I'm not much of a dancer, and I've never go-go'd before in my life, but I'll show up. I want to see. And it's hard to get into go-go if the girls are all back, they're going to hire all the girls back. That's just, they're very loyal, I guess, in that way. But that year, there was a couple that weren't coming back, and we're like, there's some open spots.
Yeah.
And they also added 2 go-go's in the House of Horrors maze, which was the Monsters remix. I don't know if you ever remember that one. But it was all the classic monsters, and they had a Bride of Frankenstein go-go. And me and my current roommate right now, Jen Galasso, we both got the Bride, in which I love the Bride so much. And to also be a go-go and dance and kind of get initiated into that group was a very interesting experience and so fun. And you get paid pretty well, and you get off at like 12. I mean, we didn't for that year because we were in a maze, so we kind of got gypped. But wait, we got good money. Really good money.
Yeah. Now, The sets are what, like 30 minutes, an hour each time you're on?
Usually it's 30 minutes.
Okay.
If you want to go and see a maze or something, and have a chance to maybe experience what you're doing. One girl would be like, oh, I'll stay on for an hour. And then you go and see a maze for an hour. And then when you get back, you do an hour and I get an hour off. And that's if they're nice.
Yeah.
If your go-go partners switching with you are nice. Sometimes they're like, fuck you.
Yeah. They're like, matter of fact, I'm going to do 20
I'm
minutes.
feeling tired today.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Now, with the whole routine, I mean, in a sense, it's a routine, right? Like, you're not kind of just freestyle dancing, right?
Oh, we're freestyling.
Freestyling.
The entire time. And people have their own individual dancing styles too, and you will find your own. Like some girls are very sexy in the moves, some are very robotic, or some are thrashers. Like Sandra V is a big thrasher, and she comes off set sweating because she's just flailing that hair.
Yeah.
And some girls are like, I'm going to show you just how gorgeous I am. Like in the kind of pose and stuff. Like, look, I could do the splits. It depends for what your taste and what your type is, because we're trying to cater to all different types of people. And you could tell who they were hiring. We have a very dominant Hispanic group that comes to Halloween Horror Nights. So they're like, let's get those Latinas in there, and they will, and they fucking love it. But we also have those goth guys, that come, that love, the Halloween Horror Nights, groupies.
Yeah.
So they want to see maybe like a pale girl with like the black hair and like the blue eyes, kind of little Marilyn Manson-ish. And so there's something for everybody. And we did have the big blonde bimbos, It's what we're here for, because it's rated R event,
Yeah.
We knew what we were doing. So many girls auditioned for this role. It's shocking.
Yeah.
It is shocking how much of us were like, we want to wear bra and panties and just dance in a cage. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we don't care, and we'll do it. Like, all power to us if we want to. It's just go-going. Go-going's been around since the 1920s.
Yeah.
Like, but people call us strippers, and I'm like, we ain't taking off clothes. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong, but I'm just saying.
So transitioning a little bit, I do want to talk about Victoria, the vintage vampire. How did this character come about? I'm assuming you created it. And
No.
Okay.
Actually, surprise.
Surprise. Okay.
Surprise. So this is a really weird moment, but I was part of, I think I could talk about this now. There was a moment in time where I got a call for a TV show in the works, and it was called Pinups of Hollywood. And during this Pinups of Hollywood, it was supposed to be filmed like Orange County Housewives, for like Bravo and stuff like that. How they have like a set of girls from a certain city, and then you get into their lives, just like how Bravo is. The Orange County Housewives, the New Jersey Housewives, but we were the first set, so we were the Pinups of Hollywood, and then there would be Pinups of Florida or Pinups of Miami or whatever. We were the first set, so I got called, and I felt honored. I was like, you guys think of me. I don't even have the biggest following. I was like, gee, scraping the bottom of the barrel here with me. But I was part of that show, and that's actually where I met Tosh and a lot of people from that. And we filmed an entire like pilot season, like with the confessionals and everything. And I'm not sure exactly what happened to it. Not my place, But the guy who was running it is Taz, and he reached out to me one day, and he had this director friend, and she's looking for a female that can act and play this kind of vampy role. So he reached out to me. He goes, I got something for you from my director girlfriend, and here, And so I gave him the number, and I got this number, and it was the character Victoria for this movie called Vampire Dad. And it's supposed to be a low-budget kind of cult film comedy of this, it had everything I wanted, like horror and 1960s kind of aesthetic. And there was this vamp goddess of the underworld, Victoria, who kind of caused this entire family issue. She's the one who bites the dad, and because she runs the monster world, and the monsters have feelings too, and they have problems, and we need a therapist. Unfortunately, in the monsters, nobody is a certified therapist, so she needs to go to the human world to go and find one, bite one, and then bring him in, and then she gives him clients of monsters like werewolves, and he doesn't want to, and she accidentally bites the wrong guy, and and it's like this whole kind of character that was originally written for Elvira. That was originally, like, this character was written for Elvira. I'm not sure what happened. Like either she wanted more money than what they could, or she didn't want to do it or break away from her character, but that was the intention of this character. And then somehow it just got down to me, once again, scraping the barrel. And I was only supposed to be in for one scene. And my co-actress, I don't know if you would know her, Grace, I think it's Grace Fulton. She's in Shazam. She's one of the kids that does this thing, but she just got Shazam at that time. And she's playing the daughter in this show. And I was only supposed to be in one scene. And then after that scene, they just kind of kept writing Victoria in the movie, just giving her a little bit more. Oh, now she's starting the movie. And, let's give her kind of like a hosting job since she's kind of like this vintage vamp. And they started developing the character kind of almost around what I created, even though it's not what they intended.
Yeah.
And then during exactly that time, I was starting to create kind of like a YouTube video of like, I like comedies, I like parodies. That's what I wanted to do. And we did. We already filmed Evil Dead, the musical, which has never been seen, by the way. It's not finished. And we filmed like for 4 days up in Big Bear. And they found out about that. And they're like, well, if you're doing like a horror host, why don't you we'll give you Victoria. Sign a couple documents and stuff. And it's been about 4 years now that I've had this character signed to me. So I basically am renting this persona, but has also created more characters around her and a world that's around her. So it's like a segue off of Vampire Dad.
Yeah. No, I did do some research into Vampire Dad, so I did watch like a little bit about it. And I gotta say, this character that you play, I mean, Victoria, in a sense, like, one, your delivery of her is great. The acting is great. Like, you need to be doing a lot more projects and bigger projects, because my goodness, like, you're entertaining for one, and your delivery is there.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate it.
Of course.
Somebody was like, I don't know what I'm doing. They would even be like, what accent is that? I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't want her to have a specific accent that you could pinpoint it to a specific time. I knew I wanted it transatlantic, but I didn't want it British, and I didn't want you to be like, oh, she's from this place.
Yeah.
I don't want her from anywhere. You don't know. Nobody really
You don't know.
She doesn't know.
She doesn't know. So you do also a lot of short like films or short skits. So outside of these more kind of production, you do like I've seen like Friday the 13th, or you did like one with the Scream, like short little fun ones and stuff. How do those come about? Are those your ideas? You come up with them, or Okay.
Yeah, I have the mind of an 8-year-old boy when it comes to comedy. I like fart jokes. I am not above that at all. And I like comedy. I like making people laugh and it's just so random, but also incorporating my vintage world in it. And it's really hard because like I am this pinup pink thing sometimes, but my mind is like, oh, I like horror and guts and like the campiness of everything. So I try to merge those worlds together. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I haven't perfected it yet because I'm not consistent enough, because I get caught up doing other things.
Yeah.
Like Beauty of Burlesque is like one, like we had something set up and then she calls and I go, damn it, 4 months down the drain of just working on that. And yeah, I don't know how I come up with them. They're always going to be parodies of some sort. So they stem from something else. But I have a couple stuff ready to go or that we're currently working on.
Awesome.
That, I'm excited for. I just don't know what's going to stick,
Yeah.
What works, what actually, I don't know. I don't know if people are even going to like it,
Honestly, they're fun to watch. They're entertaining.
Yeah, I just want to up the quality. You know? Sometimes we film things on like cell phones. We're like, well, let's just try it. Fuck it. You know?
So when you're filming those, now you did mention cell phone, but do you normally have like a camera person who's like kind of knows what they're doing, or is it just kind of your friend that like hey, like, can you just film this real quick?
For the bigger stuff, like the musicals and stuff like that, that is Ken. He's my go-to guy ever since the beginning. He's usually my DP, and
okay, nice.
We usually work with Reds when it comes to like the bigger stuff.
Okay.
Usually. The last Beauty Burlesque, I think we were working on Black Magics because we wanted something to move easier. Even though there are smaller condensed Reds, but I think the Black Magics were just something easy. And I'm such a drone person, and I just got a drone.
Did you? Which one?
I don't know what it's called. A Maverick?
Oh, yeah.
The little...
Mini
Maverick?
Yeah,
something like that. My boyfriend got me it for my birthday.
Nice.
And I've been flying it around the house.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited because I'm obsessed with drone shots. Like
Yeah.
anything that goes from high to low.
Mm-hmm. A good shot, which would be really interesting, is with the drone, using the drone for like one of your skits or anything up high and kind of following the person maybe into the door.
I
There
know.
you go.
It just sets the tone. It
Yeah.
really does. And it ups your quality so much. And I haven't used it yet
Yeah.
in anything, but we're going to. We're going to.
I'm excited. I'm excited
Thank
to see that stuff. Now, kind of transitioning into what a lot of the females and ladies listening and watching are going to want to know. Hair. Let's talk hair. Right? So first and foremost, at what age or when did you kind of get into the pinup look, the vintage look, and also learning all these kind of different hairstyles? Like, when did that intrigue you?
Well, I'm wearing a wig right now, so don't judge
Would
me.
have never guessed.
No, my hairstylist right now is pregnant, so she's not doing my roots right now. So
Okay.
I look like a skunk. But I would say I got into the vintage or pinup world with hair and everything right when I got Marilyn. Because when I got hired from Marilyn, you had to go into her world. You had to dive. You had to know everything about her. It's like a requirement for her. And so while you're watching her movies, you're seeing these other actresses. You're seeing kind of the aesthetic and these type of movies. And they're so beautiful. Like, they don't make women like that anymore. They just don't, or they don't care about it as much. Because things just change. Things change. And I don't know. I think I started... Marilyn's not my favorite. I'm just going to begin that right now. She's just not my favorite. I have other favorite blondes from those decades. But yeah, I just started trying to emulate their looks. And also growing up, too, another big fan, I was huge of No Doubt. So Gwen Stefani also had that kind of... a more punk version or rockabilly, I guess, version of the vintage glamour, but that was another thing I was always trying to emulate as her, like with the plaid pants, but then something glamorous up on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it was Marilyn.
So Marilyn kind of started it. Now, she started it. Now, did you kind of look up to anyone as far as... because you really portray and talk a lot about like the 60s, the 50s, the 30s, like all these different kind of hairstyles. Did you... or do you look up to anyone in those eras? I know you do, but I just want to hear them. Like one of the ones you've done, which, by the way, again, spot on. Like when I've shown people, I'm like, dude, look at this. They're like, that Lucille Ball picture, boom, right there. Like Lucille Ball. You've done Audrey Hepburn, right? Okay. Lily Munster and Elvira. And again, Elvira, spot on. Boom, picture.
Thank you.
Yeah, so... have those, like Lucille Ball and those, kind of been like some inspiration at all?
They inspired. I mean, Elvira. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's no question. She is God. You know, because she is self-made too. That's why I admire her so much. And she didn't get that and start her career until like 30, and I'm like 29. I'm like, it's happening someday. you know. But I would say I don't know if I have like an idol.
Got it.
Of that decade. My favorite probably human being, a female, is Madeline Kahn, but she's more like 1970s, 80s, you know. Okay. That's who I gravitate towards.
Yeah.
You know? Not to look like exactly, but be.
Yeah. How many hairstyles would you say you kind of know? Because you've done a lot of different ones, and the ones that you've done the tutorials of, I know there's still a lot of other ones that you still probably haven't done. So.
Yes, and I hate every single moment of it. I really do. Because it just takes forever, because I do have so much hair. Yeah. That's one very annoying thing about me, which I appreciate, even though I'm losing it because of stress. But so it takes me hours and hours. How many hairstyles, though? I mean, there's so many when it comes to vintage.
Give me a rough.
That I know. I have to know at least 40. At least 40.
My goodness. That's a lot of videos right there.
Oh, it's so many. It's too many. God, who wants to see that? And they get all mad when I don't show them the teasing process, and I'm like, it just you don't want to see it. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, please. It's so boring. I don't know. It's a very interesting world, and it's so interesting to me that people are interested in it. You know, like they really want to watch me for an hour, just go, excuse my hair. And I'm like, I guess, like, I don't know, because I want to do parodies. Like, I want to do full, well thought out things, but what ends up getting me the most views is the damn hair or makeup look of just like my everyday makeup. And I'm not the best makeup artist. I'm really not. Like at all. But people will watch it. People watch anything. I mean, they'll watch people just unwrap their own gift and like, oh, I wish I could be there receiving that gift.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me.
What would you say is the hardest hairstyle to pull off? Like out of ones that you've done?
To pull off?
To pull off. Well, to, in a sense, do.
Oh, to do.
Yeah.
That would just be a normal wave, like a Rita Hayworth style long hair wave.
Would it be your first video that you did, that one?
Yes.
Okay.
And that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Because hair is it's all about the setting.
Yeah.
If you don't set it right, and then it fucks the whole thing up. It really does. And then you're just screwed. You're like, well, this is what I hadn't planned in mind, but I guess this is what it's going to look like today. Because you have good hair days and good bad hair days.
Yeah.
That's probably the hardest one because the consistency on that one is never accurate or it's never the same. It's going to be different every time unless you have the exact same way of setting it. I have too much hair with too much rollers that I lose. So I'm like, oh, I'll curl it later in the morning, you know.
Yeah.
It takes me like 2 days to do some of these hairstyles.
2 days?
Yeah. For like full setting if you want your hair to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like the poodle's easy. Poodle. Like that's like kind of like the Lucille Bob or
Yeah.
Betty Grable one, but it depends too, but people also need to realize like you have to have a certain cut for those type of hair. You have to have a certain length for a certain hair you desire, and your texture too in your hair. Like I've dyed my hair so many times, my hair can hold anything because it's just so fried, you know.
Yeah.
But if you have like silky new fresh baby hair, it ain't gonna hold a curl. It's gonna be flat within the next hour.
Yeah.
And I hope they know that. Like I hope you guys know that.
And I don't think they do.
No, but they try.
Well, because I've seen comments like, how do you keep your hair so healthy?
It's not. And that's why we'll not do a healthy... Listen, I look like the beginning of the Garnier Fructis commercials, okay? Like, hoo-hoo. That's what my hair looks like. It's like, it ain't healthy. It is disgusting how much hairspray is still ingrained in my follicles. It's terrible.
What? So I know you're really into vintage items and different stuff like that. What would you say is a vintage item you would love to have but you don't own yet?
A car.
A vintage car?
Yeah.
Which one specific?
I mean, I would like a T-Bird, a 1950s T-Bird, but
Got it.
they're so expensive. They're so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I would take any car, honestly, from anything from late 1940s to the early 1960s. I would take anything. I'll take anything. I just want a vintage car. Like, that's a goal of mine, to be just driving down, like, Malibu.
What color?
Pink.
I was about to say...
How dare you?
The look she gave me. I was going to say...
you.
I was literally going to say pink. I'm like, it's probably going to be pink. But I was like, let me
I'll
ask.
take any color, but if I had a choice, you know, pink car would be adorable. I feel like Malibu
So many-
Barbie. Like, beep, beep.
So many of your viewers are going to be so mad at me for that question.
Yeah.
They're like, he said he watched her videos. She's got pink everywhere.
It's the
She's
last
wearing pink.
Keep it pink and spooky. I hate myself when I say that every time, too. I'm like, I hate everything about me.
All right, so I have 2 audience questions for you. That's what I'm listing them as. This is for you. So if you're coming from her channel, which thank you for coming if you are, this are questions that you've been dying to know. And she's answered it like a couple of times, but here we are.
Maybe.
So here's the first one. What curling iron would you recommend to do a lot of these hairstyles? Like if someone had to choose one curling iron to pull off most of the ones that you do, which curling iron would you recommend?
I don't know a brand.
Okay.
I have no idea about
Sure.
brands because I use a cruddy Conair old
Okay.
one. But if you're trying to get a nice curl or a nice wave, I would say like a 1/2-inch barrel curling iron with I forget what they're called, like a prong on them. You don't want ones without the prong or just like a wraparound. You want a whole prong one, but a 1/2-inch curling iron, I would say. It'll get the job done. Yeah.
There it is. There's the first question. I already know there's another question that's like, what color should dye her hair? What's the box? She changes it all the time.
All the time. It's different every time, and it's just what I get, and I cross my fingers and hope to die.
And here's this one because I just gotta ask. How do you keep your hair so healthy?
Okay, you want to know the real secret?
Yeah.
Instagram is fake.
Really?
Nothing is real. There's a reason why I'm wearing my wig. Because my hair is a piece of shit.
Okay.
Like, it's garbage. In the nice way possible. the best advice I could give to anybody is clearly heat protectant, which I don't use because I want the most driest type of hair because it holds the best.
Got it.
That's unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's the price we pay to get that certain look. But I actually don't do my hair very often. That's another thing that a lot of people don't know is like when I say Instagram is fake, you're only seeing when I style it. But if you really look at the dates separated from each post to each post, they're like a month apart. And like people are like, how do you do this every day? And I'm like, I don't. It's my hair is in a bun majority of the darn time, the entire time, until I probably get it done. And then I'll post a picture of me. Look, I got it done. And that's it. You won't see me for a month because I just don't do it as often. If you did your hair like a vintage style every day, girl, like I don't know what you're doing. Like
I think a lot of your viewers think that though, is that
Yeah.
that you do it like every single day.
I know people who do. And they are so committed, you know, but I am so lazy. I can't get myself to do it. I am definitely like Dita Von Teese. She doesn't own sweats. She does not own sweats. She literally lounges in probably like silk pajamas or something like that.
Those must be comfortable.
They have to be. But my sweats with stains on them are the most comfortable thing on the planet.
Chipotle
And some.
and some.
And some.
Okay. Here's kind of another audience question. I didn't see it in the comments, but I figure it's going to be there some way, shape, or form. Some of your outfits. Where do you get these miraculous outfits?
Well, there's a couple places. So it depends on what you want. If you want, you know, like horror t-shirts, you know, I get it from like Cavity Colors or Halloween Town has a whole wall of them just to pick. And I'm so obsessed with them because they're like my loungewear easier days.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling a little bit more punk or like my Halloween self.
Yeah.
But if I want authentic vintage and real pieces, the two places that I shop the most for real vintage is Etsy. I go on Etsy all the time.
Okay.
Or I go to Play Clothes down in Burbank. And it's an amazing store with a very cute cat called Tiger Lily. And you can
Tiger
pet,
Lily.
Yeah, it's just the cat's just around that store the entire time. Just pet little Tiger Lily. And they have so many types of vintage garments, clothing, hats, you name it, from every decade, not just from like the 50s or 40s. They got it from like, I would say the 20s all the way up until 1990s. They got it there. But it's the most gorgeous vintage clothing store I've ever been to. And yes, vintage is expensive, people. So if you want to get into this, you better understand that each dress or garment is going to cost you about $100. Just for like one dress, $100 already.
Why?
Because it's old, and especially if it's still intact and made well,
Yeah.
it has all its beading
Makes
and it's
sense.
not faded. It's worth a lot of money. Just like vintage cars, they're worth some money.
Yeah.
You know, because it's nostalgic. You're buying memories to look like your grandmother.
Yeah.
But if you want modern reproduction clothing.
Yeah.
I go to Vixen by Michelin Pitt. She's also in Burbank too, right around that corner. I have so many of her dresses because it's like the sexier, dark version of like the
I've seen
retro
her
girls.
stuff.
I
Great stuff.
and she loves monster stuff too, so she's my
Yeah.
kind of gal. Yeah. She's a good example of like, oh, this is how you do horror girls and then pin up pink girls, and you put them together in one. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad that it's a thing now. It's a thing.
Yeah.
We can express ourselves in the right way.
Yes, definitely. So, talking about this thing you created called the YouTube channel. You created a YouTube channel where you do tutorials and stuff like that. First and foremost, as we get into it, you got to create more content. We
I
need
know.
to see more content. The people are waiting.
They've been bugging me. They're like, when are you coming back? I will post like the Beauty of Burlesque thing, and they're like, that's great, but the bumper bangs. How do we do bumper bangs? And I'm like, thank you so much for this thing. I've spent so much money.
Yeah.
And they just want to see me in my freaking closet,
Yeah.
just doing something.
It's bizarre, right?
It's so bizarre to
You know
me.
what I think it is though, is because when I watched, like when I was doing research and I was watching your video, like I watched the first one and then I went down the YouTube rabbit hole and then I watched Rachel's version of yours, where she's
Rachel.
following. So funny, so funny,
Poor
like
girl.
both of you. But
She cracks me up.
I was watching it and just your style of your references and everything you make and the pictures that you pop up.
Oh my God.
Like
I try to keep it comedic, like, because I don't take myself too seriously. Like,
I don't know when the last time like my jaw was hurting after watching the videos because like the references you were making. I think you said bump and there was like a speed bump like picture that you posted. And I'm like, and then the impressions that you do. So I'm gonna make you do a couple of them right now.
God.
But actually one of them, can we hear again your Ray Romano impression?
All right. It's not an impression. It's just what I sound like. Because we both talk in the back of our throat. Me, Ray Romano, and Kermit the Frog, we all have one thing in common, our voice. Like, oh, yeah, honey. I can't even do it right now. It's just what I feel like I sound like when I talk sometimes. If I have a very lazy back of the throat Californian. Ray Romano.
Ray Romano. Do you do any impressions, by the way? Like any of anyone? No? No, she just has mimics here and there, but no, the references killed me, and I think that's what a lot of people look for in the videos. But
that's what I think so too. It's what they say. They're like, the hairstyle's cute, but you're funny, and I'm like, well, I'd rather take that because, like I said, I do not take myself too seriously, and they're just gonna know I'm a fraud and I'm not that good at hair sooner or later. So I might as well make them laugh during the way. Like, sorry, I made you sit through this for an hour.
Yeah,
and like I don't know.
No,
I feel bad.
You definitely have the personality for it, so I'm looking forward to more of it. And the two things I've learned that's just repeating in my head, and for everyone watching, I know you know the same thing. There's two things that if you don't learn these two things, then you're not watching her videos properly. The first one is get the ends or everything goes to shit.
Oh.
There's that one.
Correct.
That learning lesson. And the second one is finding your ear and going right up.
Right. Find your ear. Going right up to the center. I mean, that's how you separate your hair. Yeah.
There
totally.
she is.
The ends are so important when it comes to vintage hair, though. Oh, my God. Because nobody wants like a curl and then it's straight at the end. It looks so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
So, kind of to wrap it up, because we're going to be wrapping up here, let's talk a little about horror movies. Spooky. What are some of your favorite classic horror movies?
If you want to go classic.
Let's go classic.
Okay. I have to go with the original Halloween.
Okay.
It's one of my favorites. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan.
You
see my Necronomicon?
I do.
It's a Mean Girl Necronomicon. I am a huge Evil Dead fan because, once again, anything with comedy kind of in it and then horror is such a beautiful mix to me. And my favorite movie of all time, honestly, is Scary Movie. I could quote that movie so much. Anna Faris kills me.
Yeah.
I would say the original John Carpenter, Halloween, and Evil Dead. I mean, I like Killer Clowns. I don't know if I consider that a horror movie. It's kind of a Halloween movie. For me.
I would say so.
Me too. I can't think of really anything else that I love. Like, I mean, I'll watch them, of course, but Halloween always gets me the spirit of Halloween because it is set clearly on Halloween. I would like to hope so.
Now
it's a Christmas movie.
What did you think about the kind of, in a sense, newer version of Evil Dead?
The TV show or the movie?
No, the movie.
I thought the movie was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I miss Ash. Who doesn't miss? They took a different direction with it. They made it 10 times more serious. Like, it wasn't really funny anymore, which it kind of has like that campy vibe to it that was missing from it. But it was actually filmed really well. And the most thing that I was so fascinated with was the camera work in that movie. I've never been more obsessed of, because the Kandarian demons or whatever they are, they go through the woods, and then you get that point of view shot of them just going, through the woods. And the way they did it, and I watched this behind the scenes, this poor cameraman is hooked up to this rigging of this long string in between these trees, and he's just ziplining like, he has to keep that camera as steady as he can to get that shot, because they're amplifying this entity when originally they were just holding it and going through the woods. Like, they would be literally in a boat in the water, kind of just holding it at the edge to get that point of view shot, which I think is one of the most iconic horror shots of all time. That fast-paced point of view. I think it's so cool. Yeah.
What would be now a couple of your favorite modern scary movies nowadays?
It Chapter 2. I mean,
Chapter 2.
Yeah, no, sorry. It Chapter 1.
Okay, I was going to say Chapter 2. Okay.
Sorry. Chapter 1.
Okay.
The 2 one is fine. It's great. I think they do a great job for what the source material is, because that's a hard thing to sell. Oh, and then the clown turns into an alien bug that transforms at the end and attacks everybody. And it's like, way to go, Steven. Really feeling it that day, huh? Steven like went off the deep end on that one. He's like, yeah fuck it. I'm just going to fucking alien. But It Chapter 1.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was
a great
good.
film.
It was really good.
Those kids were so fantastic.
The comedy, right? In it.
So, once again, funny as hell. They're such great actors. The cinematography, the score. I keep talking about how was this film not nominated for anything. And horror movies, they get snubbed all the time, for Academy Award ceremonies, except maybe like The Exorcist and a couple ones like that. I think The Shining got something too. But the score in that movie is the most beautiful score I've heard in a very long time. And everybody knows when you create an iconic score and you could just hear it and know exactly what movie that's from, I think you succeeded. Because everybody knows that, like, like it's Pennywise now. That's what we describe Bill's Pennywise. And I love that movie so much. I even liked Mama when it came out. Guillermo del Toro's Mama.
I don't know if I've seen that one. No.
Practical effects. They used. I appreciate practical effects so much that Guillermo always pushes that boundary of what they can do. And this Mama character, really long, long fingers, and they have her coming at these kids, and it's so beautiful and hauntingly scary. It was a good ghost story, I felt. And you know what I heard the other day? That they got a greenlit for Gremlins 3.
Really?
And they are doing it all practical effects. They are using no CG. And I went, thank you, God. So
wow. That's going to be fun.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited because you want to talk about an iconic score. I dab. I hate myself.
Were you a fan of the Insidious movies at all?
Yeah. I thought they were scary. James Wong, right? Is he the director?
I think so. Yeah.
He has a very certain way of, it's his film when you see it, because he's a jump scare. But I do love his lighting and his aesthetics and his coloring in his film. So when something bad is about to happen when there's something red in the area, and blue is kind of the sadness and the tones that he uses in his movie, I think are beautiful. It gets a little bit repetitive, it can.
Yeah.
I watched I don't know if he did La Llorona.
I'm not too sure. I don't even know if I've seen that one.
I have. One of the scariest openings I think I've seen in a long time that was actually jarring to me, because it's weird when you see, spoiler alert, a child death. It's weird. Yeah. It's really weird because you're like, God damn. And she's like drowning him in the water like that. I'm like, fuck, they showed it. I was like, okay. I mean, a lot of people didn't like that film, I heard, but I thought it was okay, for what it was. And I think that's why I like It Chapter 1, because they show, why can I not think of his name? Charlie? No. Why am I blanking out?
The boy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I forget the name.
When they show his death. I'm blanking on it right now. When he gets his arm ripped off and he's just crawling in that street, and that's my favorite shot of that film, is when the camera goes up and pans up and you see just wide shot from above, and Pennywise's arm just getting longer, and he's grabbing that kid. And I'm like, fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
What an amazing film. I love that film so much.
So good. So, last question. You've been teasing something on Instagram. Are you allowed to talk about it at all? You know what I'm talking about.
A creature?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can talk about it.
Okay, great. We'll kind of finish up on that, but go ahead, talk about it. So we saw on Instagram, for anyone following her, you had full face makeup, prosthetics. You had the arms, everything. So yeah, talk about it.
So I love to dress up as characters. That's another thing of mine. Like, more than just pinup, I actually like dressing up as iconic characters of the worlds that I love, which are usually horror. You've seen me do it with Casey from Scream, or oh my God, I can't even think of their names right now, but I've done it before. And this has actually been 2 years in the making. One of my makeup artists at Halloween Horror Nights Grinchmas is Mara. And Mara is a fantastic makeup artist, and she works on Conan right now, and her stories with Conan are the funniest things I have ever heard, when I just got a taste of it the other day. And I talked about it because Creature's my favorite classic monster, hands down. I would say like Invisible Man's my second one, if we ever could see him. And but like I've always wanted to do a female like a creature, you know, and she took it to another level. I was like, well, I could do that for you, and I could get a sculpt, and we could shoot it underwater. And I went, really? And she's like, yeah. So I actually had to get 2 face casts. It's been, like I said, 2 years in the making, where I had it done, and then we just couldn't find a day to do it with the underwater photographer, and the face cast like molded, and so I had to like redo it again, and finally we did it, and it turned out so cool. I have some of the pictures already, but they're not edited. I have to wait till they edit, and we actually have video of it too underwater, which looks so neat. And she got me a made exact swimsuit of I'm blanking out on names today. I'm sorry. I've only had coffee today. Of the girl in the film. So it's a replica bathing suit exactly like hers. The face prosthetic was made for me. The arm prosthetics were made for me. They gave me a wig. I look a little bit like Greta, the gremlin. But I saw some of the underwater shots. It was just everything I've ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
I've never felt more gorgeous in my life, looking like a fish woman. My new name is Gilda. So
love it.
I'm gonna make a Tinder with her and be like, I'm your only.
No, you gotta go, Gilda. Yeah.
Like me and my friends, like I keep sending them certain pictures of like my selfies as her. It is so ridiculous. Like I need to make a Tinder just with her and be like, there are plenty of fish in the sea, but there is only one of me.
Perfect.
Like that's what it is. Like I'm the perfect catch. Like just all the fish puns. And I hope that people swipe right to me. Like swipe left if you support SeaWorld. You know?
Now, when can we expect this?
I don't know. That's actually a really good question. I mean, soon.
Okay.
It's supposed to be actually part of a series that's coming out. And I told Mara, like, you should do a calendar with this stuff. But where it stemmed from my idea, and then she took it on, and then she made it into her own world. She wants to do a whole series of basically classic monsters' girlfriends. So I would be the first one up. And then she'll do like maybe like Wolfman down the line, and she's got like a vampire on silks on the next one, something like that. The Invisible Man, Frankenstein, you know, even though he has a bride, but like a female monster, you know, and stuff like that. I'm like, that's a calendar. I'm June. I'm Miss June. If I'm, you know, or August, I don't know, whatever summer is for the swimming one. Yeah. But yeah, one of the funnest and coolest experience I've ever been on. And swimming with a full prosthetic and wig is, it's something. It is something. You're all and you're trying to look good. And there are some shots of me just struggling with like the seaweed kelp wrapped around me. I'm like, help, and I can't breathe. Oh well.
I'm totally looking forward to that. So
me too. I'm curious what they're gonna edit it to be.
But that is going to wrap up this episode of the podcast. Again, thank you so much for coming on and being on.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Real quick before we wrap up, talking to that camera right there, just let everyone know where they can find you, all your handles
At
and
my
all
house.
of that.
I'm just kidding. You can find me on Instagram at Pinup Palmer. You can find me on YouTube as Pinup Palmer. It's pretty standard. That's pretty much all I have. I don't use Twitter. I don't know how to tweet. Tweet. I spell things wrong all the time. You should know by now with all the text messages back to you. Like, good luck deciphering that. Sorry.
I'm like, All right. Well, thank you so much.
Of course.
So that's going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for listening and watching. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It helps the channel tremendously. And if you haven't watched any of the other interviews I do, just interview people from all walks of life. I've done, and she knows a couple of these people, like scare actors from Knots, scare actors from Halloween Horror Nights, from Queen Mary. I interviewed the guy who played the genie for 10 years at California Adventure. So just a whole bunch of different people, and I'm going to continue to bring you amazing guests to just talk about their journey. So I hope you found this interesting. Other than that, I will see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye.